So sometimes what happens is people join a position, they join a company, they really are not liking it, it's not what they thought it would be. You would execute that 1 week notice and get out of there and go and find another position. That's an option to you. So that does happen. So keep in mind these are usually mutual agreements, two-way street, 1 week either side. The other thing you'd want to have a look at, particularly for a senior executive, are non-compete agreements. And you'd want to see how that's going to be framed. So they might be quite specific. They're bringing you into a very senior role and they're saying that if you were to leave the business, you could not go and work for certain employers for a period of time. Just need to be very mindful of that and enter into the spirit of the agreement that if that's what you're signing up for, that those organisations are going to be off limits to you. Vague non-compete agreements tend to not hold up, so the more specific it is, the better in a way for you, so that you can really understand what is a non-compete scenario. There can be sometimes some unusual clauses. These can be things like sign-on bonuses or how bonuses are calculated. Sometimes there can be a period of time where you've got to kind of earn your stripes before you start to get paid bonuses and share options and things like that. Just to have a really good read through. There's no excuse for not reading and not understanding the employment contract, and I'm finding that these days it just pays to run it past a second pair of eyes to read the contract. Just make sure we're all 100% on the right page there. They're important documents to get right. There is a misnomer that you can't negotiate that contract and that clauses can't be changed. Clauses can be changed, but again, a little bit like my comment about horse trading, we don't want to go back and forth on the contract, but we do want to make sure that we're very clear what we're entering into, and if you do want to change parts of the contract, you would come back with a clear alternative and see what's possible in terms of renegotiating parts of those clauses to make sure that we're all comfortable with what we're agreeing to. The more senior you are, the more important that might be. So you might be a chief executive going into an employment contract scenario, and you just want to get that 100% right, that you've got the right notification periods if you were let go, all those kind of things you want to get 100% checked off with your employment lawyer. Very important. So this is a phase where hopefully this is all very, very good news. You're getting going with a new employer, new position, new opportunity. If you are currently employed and you haven't lost your job, very important that you've wrapped things up well with your past employer, put in your proper notice, leave on a high note. Even if things haven't been 100% right and you weren't happy at the company, it never pays, I don't think, to be particularly negative or to, have fallings out. The world's a very small place these days, and you'll often find that those people you'll cross paths with again. So very important that you leave on very, very good terms. So this is a period of just getting these things right, and they are important. Where you can run into problems is if you do have competing offers. You've got 2 or 3 offers on the table at the same time. Now, if you've followed my methodology, if you've done the 100 approaches in the 100 days, it is quite likely that you are in a scenario now where you've got a few offers on the table. And I think what you need to do is go through each offer and each company in its own right, and maybe have the blank piece of paper and really assess, well, what would be the right move for you? Is it the right company? And so on. Don't get too swung along with the dollars, because a few dollars here or there, doesn't really make you a happy person. You've really got to think about what would be the right career move. Would these be people you'd really like to work with? And so when you're making your your assessments, don't just look at the financial benefits, because if you just chase the money, you may find that you end up taking a role that, although it may pay a little bit more, it might not be the best career move. You might not perform as well. And if you'd gone with the role that maybe didn't pay as much, you might have got promoted, you might have had more bonuses paid to you, all sorts of things might have happened, or you may have been happier. Nowadays also we look at, the holistics of the whole offer, the work-life balance. Could you have work flexibility? Would you be able to work from home a certain, number of days per month? Are they a family-friendly work environment? So you need to consider all of those factors when you're looking at the offer, because sometimes those things are very valuable to have an employer that's genuinely family-friendly, for example. I know some employers actually provide a creche at the workplace, or they provide a lot of, flexibility to be able to go and, go to see your kids, at the school play and things like that. And that could be extremely important to you in the longer term. So look at the whole offer holistically and, make an informed decision. Very important that at this point, if you do have competing offers, that you're very clear and transparent with people. You certainly don't want to accept an offer and then not turn up to the job, or not follow through on what you've said. So be very careful not to verbally accept a job if you don't intend to go forward with that position. So just work through that carefully. And you may need to get an external advisor just to guide you through that process of just assessment and working out what are the right roles, what are the right opportunities. Reference checks are going to be very, very important, and nowadays employers really do go to the nth degree to get the right information to make an informed decision before they actually issue a letter of offer, a formal job offer to join the company. It's very important that you have lined up your referees and you've actually contacted your referee and spoken to them about the pending telephone call that's going to come through. And I find that it works really well if you ring the individual and you actually express some detail about the role that you're about to be considered for. So I would say something like, I'm shortlisted for XYZ company. I'm expecting them to make a telephone call. Can I just reconfirm, are you 100% happy to be a referee for me? And the person would say, yes, absolutely, I want to be a referee, there's no problems there. And I'd say something like, look, I think they're going to be interested in my ability to project manage technology, so if you could speak to that. They're most likely going to be screening as well for my leadership capability. I'm going to have a team of about 10 new staff. The previous boss wasn't a great team leader, so they're going to be really zeroing in on my leadership style. They're the likely things that they're going to be asking you about. You want to help your referee as much as possible, be given some information about what they're going to be asked about. And then you'd really sort of emphasise to your referee how important this is. You could say something like, look, I've really been trying for a few months now to find the right role. This role is really perfect for me. It's all coming down to the final reference checks. I really appreciate you going into bat for me, and hopefully we'll hear some more soon. That way your referee knows that it is really important. That might sound a bit silly, but referees get phone calls all the time. This might be the 10th referee check they've had to do this week. But if they understand how important this is to you, they're going to give it the right focus and the right flavour. That's important because a skilled headhunter employer can pick up little negativity on the telephone. They can also pick up if someone's withholding information. So they do go into quite comprehensive reference checks. So I really think it's important to line your referees up, prepare them, give them the right information so that when they do the reference check, they're really giving you a glowing reference check. You can expect companies to do those checks, but they will also do people who are not on the list, and they will speak to people who you've previously worked with and so on. So You've got to hope for the best where that's concerned, but don't just assume companies just call the people on the list that you provide to them. A good company will do some background checks and so on. This is also why your social media feeds and things like that need to be looking right. Particularly Facebook. Be very careful what you share on Facebook, and if possible, turn your Facebooks and your Instagrams to private accounts. Don't let everybody see everything about your life. Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, you know, I would have some privacy around those key, areas where people can gather information. It's amazing how people form judgments just based on a few photographs. So just be very careful about how you're presented online. But hopefully this process goes really well. I only recommend that your referees are called once, ideally. You do not want referees being called every 2 weeks. So try and control this process. You only let your referees get contacted and called when you are confirmed as the preferred candidate and that they are actually intending to make a job offer. So I will often protect my referees, and I will say to the company, look, I have some brilliant referees. They're very high profile, but they're also very busy, and I would only like them to be contacted if in fact you are moving forward and are going to make me a job offer. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and most serious employers will accommodate that request, because you do not want your top referees called 10 times. There's nothing worse than ringing your referee and saying, look, I didn't get that job that you did the reference check for. They went with someone else, and I didn't get the other job, but now this job's come up and they want to do a reference check. So you really want to keep those referees as fresh as possible, 100% on side, and obviously ready to give the very best possible reference check that they can, so that you secure the job offer and it all goes forward to the next step.